Alright, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Salatu Salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'a huda. So, we are starting level 5. Hopefully, the plan is that we have 9 weeks left, unless we run out of students. There is a few things that we will be covering in this level, including the something that I spoke about in the past, the nabra, or the emphasis on the words, and also the art of imitating. I called it a gift or an acquirement, and maybe a brief history of the Quran, how the Quran was collected, just to give you an idea of how it was done. And then the ahruf, the different dialects that the Quran was revealed with, and also the maqamat, a brief idea of what the maqamat are, and the qira'at, the different ways of reciting the Quran. We'll give, inshallah, a presentation on different qira'at. And also, maybe we'll conclude with some memorizing the Quran, some tips on memorizing the Quran. A lot of people want to know, what are the best ways of memorizing the Quran, whether it is the whole Quran or parts of the Quran. And we'll conclude, inshallah, with the test as we did with level 4, and we'll have like certificate for those who finished, inshallah. For today, we'll talk, inshallah, for maybe 20-25 minutes about the vocal cords. I call it vocal cords care. The vocal cords, it's something that we use to recite the Quran, right? And we always are reminded to beautify the Quran with our voices. So the voice is a mean to recite or to beautify the Quran. And if we are asked to beautify the Quran with our voices, that means you're getting rewarded for it. So taking care of this aspect will help a person achieve more rewards. And obviously, to the best of our ability. I have, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, collected some tips on how to take care of these vocal cords from different people who have experience in the field, people who have memorized the Quran and they are specialized in the Quran. So sometimes these kind of ideas or tips you don't find it easily in the books or on the internet. So it's not something that I research just by Googling these things, but this is something that I collected over time, and my wife also helped in collecting some of these items. And I remember our Sheikh Mustafa, who used to come to Vancouver quite often. He used to tell me stories about these things. And at one point he had surgery on his vocal cords. So I was interested, like, what happened and what kind of surgery is that, right? So he told me that, especially during Ramadan, he used to go from one masjid to another. Imagine somebody who is leading Taraweeh. After he finishes, he's taken to another masjid to lead Taraweeh again on the same night. We're not talking about like the next day. He said, we go like this until Fajr, from one masjid to another. Either leading Taraweeh or Qiyam or giving lectures. He also used to give lectures. So it's like a non-stop. So you can understand that, I don't know if you tried this, to read for a long period of time. Your vocal cord will be tired. You won't be able to speak normally or you wouldn't want to talk to anyone when you are like tired. Your vocal cords are tired. You don't want to talk. So he said, after Ramadan, that's it. I couldn't talk. So he had surgery, and I told him what happened to the vocal cords. He said, the calluses that you get on your hand when you do a physical job, right? He said, this is what I got on this is just to give me an idea what happened on the vocal cords. So they had to basically remove them from the vocal cords. And it's not something that will go away by itself. So he had to, and while he was telling me the story, I told him, when did you have the surgery? He said, before Ramadan, which means a few weeks ago, right? And the doctor told him you shouldn't give lectures and lead Taraweeh, right away. You should give yourself 6 months rest. But he didn't. He came here and he started leading Taraweeh. Maybe not in the same way that he used to do it, but he was able to lead Taraweeh and give lectures. This is just to give you an idea of what happened to the vocal cords. This is probably from overuse, right? Even though he may not have been screaming, because screaming is one of the things that should be avoided, like screaming. And this is also found in the Quran. وَغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ. This is found in Surah Luqman. وَغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ. It's not recommended to scream. Sometimes we may scream, we get angry or scream at somebody. But on a regular basis, it will definitely harm the vocal cords. So this is, the story was for overuse, even though he was using it for a good cause, but still it's overuse. It was harming him. For the screaming, there was this brother. He was a friend of mine. He was a coach of some sport. I don't remember what it was exactly. And you can imagine in a big stadium where there are people screaming, hundreds of people screaming, you can't even hear yourself. So if you are trying to talk to somebody or scream or talk to the players or give them instructions, you'll have to scream. So the brother, he said, at one point he completely lost his voice from always screaming at the players. And now he recovered, but you can tell now until today, many years later, it's not normal. His voice is not normal. It's not smooth. And one of the other tips that I remember Sheikh Mustafa told me this clearly. He said, avoid all types of nuts, because the nuts basically harm the vocal cords. Foods that are acidic, like tomato, sauce, citrus. They say coffee, even though, I drink coffee myself. Maybe not strong coffee, but I do drink coffee. Spicy foods, they say. Carbonated drinks. And this reminds me of when talking about acidic. They said that Sheikh Abdul Basit Abdul Samad, who I believe died in the 80s, the famous Egyptian Sheikh. I was told that wherever he went, the places that he went to recite, right, wherever he was invited, he always had, his drink prepared. He has his own drinks. He never drinks from anywhere else. So I told the brother, why? Why does he bring his own drink? He said, because sometimes it happened to some reciters where they give them acid to drink. People were jealous of them. So instead of giving them water, they drank and they never recited again. So the reciters, they started bringing their own drinks, right? They don't trust anybody else. And I don't blame them. People are just jealous, right? Evil people. And probably the other reason is that I remember this reciter came to Richmond Masjid in Vancouver, and he was reciting in front of the public. So he asked somebody to bring him something to drink. I mean, he's reciting, he needs something. So the brother went and brought him something really cold. He said, this is really cold for you. Like he thought he was doing him a favor, right? The brother didn't know any better. So he said, this is very cold. He made an effort in the masjid usually. I mean, it's not easy to go and get something cold. Usually there's no fridge or anything. So he made an extra effort to go and bring him something really cold. So he didn't realize that these people, usually they don't drink cold drink, especially when they are reciting. They never drink cold drink. It's very rare that you find somebody drinking cold drinks. And even at other times, I personally stopped drinking cold drinks like a long time ago. I either drink from the tap or like warm drinks. I mean, tea or coffee or milk, warm milk. And I've seen people that what surprised me when I came to the States many years ago, I found people drinking hot water. Just water, not tea or coffee, just water. I found it strange. We don't have it back home. Nobody drinks like hot water, right? We drink like cold, very cold water from the fridge, which I can't handle right now, right? If I'm not used to it, I can't drink like really cold water. So I found that warm water or hot water is beneficial. I mean, the stomach, the temperature of the stomach is really high. So if you give it something really cold, it's going to be like a shock, right? And it's going to go through the vocal cords, right? Or the throat, whatever. But it's I guess it takes time for a person to get used to it. They also say gargling with warm water, with some salt, is also beneficial for the vocal cords. And I mentioned inhaling a while back, probably 2-3 weeks ago, when a person is reading, whether you are sitting or leading or praying, we try to inhale from the nose because of the system that we have. We mentioned that the air gets warmed up before hitting the vocal cords. Otherwise, and I was hoping to show a video, maybe I forgot about it, to show a video of somebody who was reciting, and because he was reading so fast, if you can try it. If a person is reading very fast, you will have to inhale from your mouth. You have to basically take a big chunk of air, basically, because of the speed that you are using. And this reminds me of Ramadan again. During Ramadan, in some masajid, I remember in IIC in Vancouver, they had an AC right in front of the imam, right at the face of the imam. I told them this is wrong, and I remember Sheikh Mustafa didn't used to turn it on, but this is wrong to have it in front of the imam, right? To face the imam. Not only that it's going to make him sick, but it also, like, every time he's inhaling like very cold air, right? It could be like placed like far away, or like those fans. I always tell them, don't make the fans facing the imam, right? Anywhere else but the imam, because the musallin, they are not really reciting, so the air, this cold air or this ventilation, is not going straight into their mouth, right? But the reciter is opening his mouth, so the air will get into it, or the fan will push air into the reciter's mouth. Staying up at night, of course, they say that it harms the voice, or the vocal cords. Smoking, obviously, it harms for those who are afflicted with this, or live with the smoker, or are around smokers. It definitely harms the vocal cords. Stretching the neck too much, right? Like person tilting his head too much to the back, also harms the vocal cords. Things that help the vocal cords. One of the things is a warm-up, especially for somebody who is reciting, or he's about to lead Salatul Tarawih. I haven't seen people doing it, right? But I know that the singers and people who are in that kind of field, they do warm up their vocal cords before performing, right? There are exercises to warm up, such as like opening the mouth like this, right? It's like a physical exercise, or saying "ah," things like that. Maybe you have seen people doing it, or trying to breathe into your stomach. Sheikh Mustafa again was telling me this. He said my doctor told me that you have to use your stomach to breathe. He said, what does it mean? He said, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. So basically, you're trying to keep as much air inside of you as possible, right? And you can test yourself, see how long you can keep the airflow, right? You can time yourself and see how far you can go with the single breath. If you take a deep breath and you say something like "oh," and try to, release as little air as possible while making a sound, and see how far you can go, right? It's a good exercise. So when you are reciting, you have to be able to not push the air with your stomach. Instead, you're trying to make your stomach bigger so that the air stays in. Because if you put pressure on the stomach, it is going to push the air out, right? So when you are reciting, and this is obviously, it needs a lot of practice and probably understanding on how it works, right? I'm not the best expert in this. I'm myself struggling with this. But instead of making an effort by pushing as much air as possible, you are trying to minimize this push of the air, right? Trying to hold it as much as possible. And of course, warming up the voice every day, if it is possible, even if you are not reciting. There are certain foods that will help the vocal cords. Some people, I remember one day one year I was not feeling well, like during Tarawih, and I was leading Tarawih. So there are some brothers who brought some special drink, like a homemade drink. And I was kind of interested to know what's in it, right? So they have this seed called yansun that they mix with honey. I guess they put honey, they put yansun, and they put I don't know what else they put in it. It's like a tea made out of these seeds. That's they said in Egypt, the Qurra, this is what they drink, because honey is very expensive, so they put yansun with some other maybe herbs, which is like it tastes like fennel, if you know what fennel is, or licorice. It has this licorice flavor in it.
So did it help your voice?
I'm not really sure if it helped or not. But, during the winters, when Ramadan when you have cold days during Ramadan, you get sick, right? And if you can't talk, if you are leading and you can't speak, then you have a problem. That's why we always have to have a backup. I tell people, you have to have a backup plan. You don't get just one person and rely just on one person to lead the whole month by himself. I mean, it's a big mistake. So we have to have 2 or 3 people at least 2 people, if not more. In some masajid we have like 3, 4 people. I mean, the more the better. They can share, at least that way. And it happens all the time actually, where one of them, at least one, if not 2, they get sick, right? Or they get tired, or something happens. Right? At least you have a backup plan. But when in case of the voice, I remember one year, it happened more than once actually. The people like insisted that I should carry on, and it's not fun when your voice is, not perfect to lead Taraweeh, right? Those are some of the some ideas I collected over time. Hopefully it's beneficial. Maybe if you have some other tips that we can add to the list, brothers, or any comments. What do you think about this?
There's a lot of rules that we need to start following.
The rules of Tajweed, or the vocal cords.
Yeah. I think sometimes even finding your own voice, like people try to mimic another voice, but they're playing on a different octave, and that really hurts the voice. If you really find your voice, you can play within your octave and you can go for hours. It wouldn't hurt. But if you push it up a little bit, you can't go for like 5 minutes and it will be done.
That's true. I agree with you. We should talk about it when we get to this topic, which is imitating. And it is true that some people, you have 2 issues here. You have people trying to imitate a voice that's out of their range, right? It's completely different type of voice, right? So we always tell people, try to find somebody who has a voice closer to you to imitate. It's easier. Like one day I was entering the masjid, Richmond, I remember, and this brother had like some type of recorder in his hand, and he told me, "Is this you?" And he started playing it, and I started listening to it, and I was not sure if it was me or not, honestly. I had to listen to it for a long time to realize that it was not me. Can you imagine that you can't even recognize your voice? Because the voice on on that recording was very, very similar to mine. So much so that I couldn't tell for sure if it was me or not. So, yeah, I mean, we have to be realistic and try to find a reciter. I mean, somebody that we like, and which voice is similar or close to what we can do, right? The other issue with this is something called we were discussing this with the Sheikh Mustafa during the Taraweeh or during the Qiyam in Richmond Masjid, where we had 3 or 4 people, probably 5 people who memorized the Quran, and many of them had like 10 qira'at and specialized in the qira'at and stuff. And he was advising one of the reciters. He said you can't go with this with this voice all the way, right? You have to switch, right? Because on one hand you are killing your vocal cords, and on the other hand the musallin are also, you're gonna kill them, right? If you don't switch to something else. And he talked to him about something called al-jawab wal-qarar. Al-jawab wal-qarar. And this is like a difference in the type of voice that you use. We'll try to give example, like audio examples, to see what the jawab is and what the qarar is, right? To go, you hear it clearly when Abdul Basit Abdul Samad is reciting those recordings, where he used like a low voice and then he switched to like or a high pitch or whatever you want to call it, and a low pitch. So a completely different type of voice or voices, and this will basically give time for the vocal cord to rest, right, from switching from one thing to another. And he told him, and I agree with him, like you have to be able to switch, otherwise you're going to be done like in 15 minutes or half an hour. That's it. You won't be able to read anymore, right? Any other comment? All right.
I have a question.
Okay.
Have you noticed when you've been reciting for a long time, your voice and your range, it must have evolved, right?
I actually have recordings from many years ago. When I went back and listened to it, it sounded weird. I mean, it's a different voice, right? It's a different voice. Is it better or not? I don't know. Is it? Does it have to do with like age? It could be. I mean, there's a lot of factors that play with the type of voice that the person has, and it may change with time due to those factors. But it was interesting to see, like, to hear yourself like years ago and compare it. Right? It's a good thing to have like a recording. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, you will see that in terms of tajweed, of course, you will see some differences as well, right? Like one year we had the Sheikh Abdul Bari Yahya, who came here more than once. And when you listen to his lecture, you wouldn't think that he memorizes the Quran or he knows about qira'at, but he turns out like he knew 2 or 3 qira'at. And when he led the salah, you can tell that he's like a pro. You can tell from the way he recites that this guy knows what he's reciting in terms of tajweed, and you can tell that he learned it from like people who are specialized, right? From the way he recites. It's different when somebody who, let's say, didn't go through this process recites. It's completely different, right? Any other comment? All right. All right. If you have anything else that could be added to this topic, you can always email me or let me know. Something interesting that could fit into this category of taking care of the vocal cords. Try to compile this more interesting document. All right. Let's recite then from Surah Al-Ma'idah. So the purpose of this level 5, other than talking about different things, it's also to continue reciting, right? To have a little bit of practice and apply all the rules that we talked about in the past, and see, hopefully see an improvement.
Can I do the test before? Because I assume I'm silent.
No, like yourself and Brother Muhammad will do the test after, but because you are doing the test, so you are not silent. Yeah. You had a comment? You don't have a comment. All right. Brother Muhammad, you had something? All right. Let's go to page 113, ayah number 32. Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 32. Well, let's go to 27, if you go back a little bit. All right, brother. تفضل.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واتل عليهم نبأ ابني آدم بالحق إذ قربا قربانا فتقبل من أحدهما ولم يتقبل من الآخر قال لأقتلنك قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين.
Continue, please.
لئن بسطت إلي يدك لتقتلني ما أنا بباسط يدي إليك لأقتلك إني أخاف الله رب العالمين إني أريد أن تبوء بإثمي وإثمك فتكون من أصحاب النار وذلك جزاء الظالمين. فطوعت له نفسه قتل أخيه فقتله فأصبح من الخاسرين. فبعث الله غرابا يبحث في الأرض ليريه كيف يواري سوءة أخيه قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري سوءة أخي فأصبح من النادمين.
جزاك الله خير. أو تريد تقرأ الآية هذه اللي بعدها؟ خلاص اقرأها.
من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون.
جزاك الله خير. برضه أحمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واتل عليهم
نبأ ابني
واتل عليهم نبأ ابني آدم بالحق إذ
قربا. Remember, you have the shadda problem.
إذ قربا قربانا فتقبل من أحدهما ولم يتقبل من الآخر قال لأقتلنك قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين.
Yeah.
لئن بسطت
the scene, make sure the scene is soft.
لئن بسطت.
What did we say about this word? Do you remember this word? This is one of the tough ones.
For the ta is stronger.
The ta is not pronounced, right?
لئن بسطت.
لئن ba sa basarta.
لئن بسطت.
Because we are merging the ta into the ta, right?
لئن بسطت.
That's better.
إلي يدك
لتقتلني
ما أنا بباسط
يدي
إليك
لأقتلك
إني أخاف الله رب العالمين. إني أريد أن
تبوء بإثمي
وإثمك فتكون من أصحاب النار وذلك جزاء الظالمين. فطوعت له نفسه قتل أخيه فقتله فأصبح من الخاسرين. فبعث الله غرابا يبحث في الأرض
ليريه كيف يواري سوءة
الأخي. قال يا ويلتا أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري
سوءة أخي
فأصبح من النادمين. من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل
أنه
من قتل نفسا
نفسا بغير
نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض
مسرفون. جزاك الله خير أبو أحمد. أبو حنيف.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واتل عليهم نبأ ابني آدم بالحق إذ قربا قربانا فتقبل من أحدهما ولم يتقبل من الآخر قال لأقتلنك قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين لئن بسطت إلي يدك لتقتلني ما أنا بباسط يدي إليك لأقتلك إني أخاف الله رب العالمين إني أريد أن تبوء بإثمي وإثمك فتكون من أصحاب النار وذلك جزاء الظالمين فطوعت له نفسه قتل أخيه فقتله فأصبح من الخاسرين فبعث الله غرابا يبحث في الأرض ليريه كيف يواري سوءة أخيه قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري سوءة أخي فأصبح من النادمين من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن
repeat again
ومن أحياها
the hamza is too strong, right Abu Ahmad?
ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون.
جزاك الله خير فضل حنيف. فضل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. واتل عليهم نبأ ابني آدم بالحق إذ قربا قربانا فتقبل من أحدهما ولم يتقبل من الآخر لأقتلنك قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين لئن بسطت إلي يدك لتقتلني ما أنا بباسط يدي إليك لأقتلك إني أخاف الله رب العالمين إني أريد أن تبوء بإثمي وإثمك
It's not إثمية, it's إثمي.
إني أريد أن تبوء بإثمي وإثمك فتكون من أصحاب النار وذلك جزاء الظالمين فطوعت له نفسه قتل أخيه فقتله فأصبح من الخاسرين فبعث الله غرابا يبحث في الأرض ليريه كيف يواري سوءة أخيه قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري سوءة أخي فأصبح من النادمين من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون.
جزاك الله خير. Brother Mustafa.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واتل عليهم نبأ ابني آدم بالحق إذ قربا قربانا فتقبل من أحدهما ولم يتقبل من الآخر قال لأقتلنك قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين لئن بسطت إلي يدك لتقتلني ما أنا بباسط يدي إليك لأقتلك إني أخاف الله رب العالمين إني أريد أن تبوء بإثمي وإثمك فتكون من أصحاب النار وذلك جزاء الظالمين فطوعت له نفسه قتل أخيه فقتله فأصبح من الخاسرين فبعث الله غرابا يبحث في الأرض ليريه كيف يواري سوءة أخيه قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون.
جزاك الله خير. Brother Sajjad. Surah Al-Ma'idah. I thought you found the page.
No, that's open right.
All right. It's page 113, 112, if you have page numbers there. Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah number 5, ayah number 27.
21.
27.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
واتلو عليهم.
نبأ.
Say again.
واتلو عليهم.
You are making a mad after the lam.
واتلو عليهم نبأ آدم.
نبأ بني
آدم بالحق إذ قربا قربانا
فتقبل
من أحدهما ولم يتقبل من الآخر
قال لأقتلنك
قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين.
يتقبل
الله من المتقين.
The lam of يتقبل is soft.
Okay.
Don't make it strong as the word Allah.
يتقبل الله من المتقين.
Better.
لئن بسطت
You remember this word?
Yeah, you had to kind of pronounce both.
Not both. Here you have to merge it. So it's not qalqala. You are trying to make qalqala here.
لئن بسطت إلي.
Still.
بسطت إلي.
You shouldn't let any air out until you pronounce the ta. If you do, then it becomes a qalqala. If you say basat ta, that means it's a qalqala. Basat ta. You see, you are letting some air out before the ta. That's what you are trying to. That's what you should try to avoid. That's better.
إلي يدك لتقتلني ما أنا بباسط يدي أنا بباسط
ما أنا
باسط يدي إليك لأقتلك إني أخاف الله رب العالمين.
الله
فأخاف الله
إني
أخاف الله رب العالمين.
العالمين إني أريد أن تبوء بإثمي
Tabu'a. The Hamza is part of the Tabu'a.
إني أريد أن تبوء بإثمي وإثمك فتكون من أصحاب النار وذلك جزاء الظالمين فطوعت له نفسه قتل أخيه فقتله فأصبح من الخاسرين فبعث الله غرابا يبحث في الأرض ليريه كيف يواري سوءة أخيه قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري سوءة أخي فأصبح من النادمين.
One more.
من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون.
جزاك الله خير. All right, regarding the written exam or the written questions, the only two people who got all the questions right are the ones who missed the exams, Brother Ahmed and Brother Muhammad. We'll have the test, inshallah, after we pray Salat al-Isha. So we'll pray Salat al-Isha quickly and then we'll do the test, if that's okay. All right. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. I can read it in Salat al-Isha. We'll save time.
واتل عليهم نبأ ابني آدم بالحق إذ قربا قربانا فتقبل من أحدهما ولم يتقبل من الآخر قال لأقتلنك قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين لئن بسطت إلي يدك لتقتلني ما أنا بباسط يدي إليك لأقتلك إني أخاف الله رب العالمين إني أريد أن تبوء بإثمي وإثمك فتكون من أصحاب النار وذلك جزاء الظالمين فطوعت له نفسه قتل أخيه فقتله فأصبح من الخاسرين فبعث الله غرابا يبحث في الأرض ليريه كيف يواري سوءة أخيه قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري سوءة أخي فأصبح من النادمين. من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا، ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا. ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون.